an island bought for a lie, a glacier that exhales ancient air, and a president who offered $100 million for the coldest real estate on Earth. This is Greenland, and it is not what you were told. The wind tastes metallic here. The horizon is a slow white curvature where ice rules and human maps thin into silence. From the air, the island reads like a planet, an inland ocean of frozen water, mountain spines, shorelines carved into 1,000 fjords. No highway stitches these places together. Towns are islands in a white sea. In winter, darkness drapes for months, and lamps become constellations. In summer, the sun refuses to set, and time thins until hours melt into one another. The ice that takes up most of Greenland is not a background. It is an actor, a living archive, a strategic engine. And beneath it, trapped in bubbles smaller than a grain of sand, is the breath of atmospheres that no longer exist. That lie we talked about earlier, it began 1,000 years ago. And it worked so well that 500 Icelanders crossed a frozen ocean to chase it. 1,000 years ago, a man stepped onto an unfamiliar shore and made one of history's most successful marketing decisions. His name was Eric the Red. Exiled from Iceland for violent disputes, he sailed west across the North Atlantic. What he found was not the lush frontier of legend. Before him stretched a rugged Arctic landscape of mountains, glaciers, rock, and narrow strips of green pressed between ice and sea. It was beautiful. It was also unforgiving. When Eric returned to Iceland to recruit settlers, he chose his words carefully. He called the island Greenland. There was no Greenland. There was ice, and there was rock, and there were a few thin valleys where grass survived the winter. Barely. Eric knew this. He had spent 3 years exploring this coast. He knew exactly what he was selling, and he sold it anyway. Not because he was cruel, because he was practical. No one crosses the North Atlantic for Rockland. No one risks their family for barely survivable fjord. But Greenland sounds like a promise. Greenland sounds like a second chance. And desperate people will cross an ocean for a second chance. Medieval accounts say he believed people would move more willingly to a place with an attractive name. Whether truth or legend, the strategy worked. Families crossed the ocean. Farms appeared along sheltered fjords. Churches rose from stone. For centuries, they endured. Then, they disappeared. The lie had worked for a while. 400 years of Viking life. Generations born on this island who never saw the place Eric had described. They built stone churches for a god they believed was watching. They raised children on land that had never been green. And then, one by one, the farms went silent. The lie that had built a civilization could not save it. At Valsey Church, granite walls still stand almost unchanged, despite centuries of Arctic weather. In 1408, A wedding took place here, the last confirmed written record of Norse life in Greenland. After that, silence descends across the historical record. Did climate cooling shorten growing seasons? Did trade networks collapse? Did disease or migration unravel these settlements? Historians continue to debate. The ruins offer no explanation. Greenland's first great lesson is simple. This island has always attracted dreamers, but survival here has never been guaranteed. And yet, the dreamers kept coming. A Viking outlaw, a Danish missionary, an American president with a checkbook. All of them looked at Greenland and saw what they wanted to see. All of them were wrong about what they found. Life in Greenland is shaped by a simple reality: distance. The island appears immense, a coastline carved into thousands of fjords surrounding a frozen interior larger than many countries. Yet, there are almost no roads. Mountains, glaciers, and the ice sheet itself make overland travel nearly impossible. Communities exist as isolated islands of humanity, connected not by highways, but by boats, aircraft, helicopters, and dog sleds. The seasons dictate everything. In winter, darkness settles for months. The sun disappears below the horizon, leaving long blue twilight, and nights illuminated by stars, moonlight, and the dancing curtains of the aurora borealis. Homes painted bright reds, yellows, blues, and greens glow against the snow. These colors were never decoration. They helped residents navigate whiteouts and identify buildings when storms erased landmarks. Then summer transforms the world. The midnight sun refuses to set. Farther north, in places like Qaanaaq and Ilulissat, experience remains essential. Hunters read shifting sea ice and changing winds with extraordinary precision, because mistakes in the Arctic carry consequences. Tradition here is not nostalgia. It is accumulated knowledge, refined across generations. Greenland is not an empty wilderness. It is a living homeland shaped by resilience, adaptation, and an intimate understanding of the Arctic. Yet every settlement, every journey, every tradition ultimately answers to a force far older than humanity itself: the ice. But the ice wasn't just watching all this time, it was writing. And what it wrote changes everything we thought we knew about this planet. In Greenland, the ice is not a backdrop. It is the main character. Covering nearly 80% of the island, the Greenland ice sheet is so vast that from the air, it resembles an inland ocean frozen in motion. In places, it is more than 3 kilometers thick, holding enough fresh water to redraw every coastline on Earth. But the ice holds something even more valuable than water. It holds memory. Scientists travel from across the world to drill deep into the ice sheet and extract long cylinders called ice cores. Trapped inside them are bubbles of ancient air, volcanic ash from eruptions thousands of kilometers away, dust carried by winds from distant deserts, and the chemical fingerprints of atmospheres that no longer exist. Each layer is a page in Earth's diary. Together, they tell a story of changing climates, shifting ecosystems, and civilizations rising and falling under different skies. Nowhere is this power more dramatic than at Sermek Kujalek, Ilulissat Glacier. Here, enormous rivers of ice surge toward the ocean. Towering walls of compressed blue ice fracture without warning, collapsing into the fjord with explosions that sound like distant thunder. Icebergs born here drift into Disco Bay like slow-moving cities, some rising hundreds of feet above the water while hiding far greater mass beneath the surface. They crack, hiss, and groan as ancient air bubbles finally escape after millennia. The sounds are mesmerizing. They are also warnings. Because Greenland's ice is not simply recording climate change anymore, it is now responding to it. And as the ice retreats, it exposes something else entirely. For most of human history, Greenland's ice was a barrier. Today, it is becoming a doorway. As glaciers retreat and sea ice shrinks, landscapes hidden for thousands of years emerge from beneath the white. To scientists, this is transformation. To governments, investors, and industries, it is something else entirely. Beneath Greenland's ancient bedrock lie rare earth elements, uranium, zinc, gemstones, minerals essential to modern economies. The phone in your pocket, the electric car on your street, the turbines spinning above a distant hill. All of them depend on 17 elements most people cannot name, and Greenland sits on top of them. Meanwhile, the Arctic Ocean is changing. For centuries, thick sea ice made northern shipping routes impossible. Now, new maritime corridors open for longer each year, routes that could cut travel between Europe, Asia, and North America by thousands of miles. Greenland no longer sits at the edge of the world. It sits at the crossroads. Nations recognized this long ago. During the Second World War, Greenland became an essential staging ground for transatlantic operations. The Cold War only deepened its importance. Thule Air Base, high in the Arctic, became a critical node in North America's early warning network, designed to detect missiles crossing the polar region. The Arctic was no longer a distant frontier. It had become the front line. In 1946, President Harry Truman offered $100 million to purchase Greenland from Denmark. Denmark said no. But the math never changed. Because whoever controls the Arctic's front door controls the shortest path between every major power on Earth. And Greenland is that door. Climate change has only accelerated this attention. As sea ice retreats, whoever maintains logistical access here gains time, reach, and operational flexibility in a rapidly changing region. Yet for Greenlanders, these developments present both promise and uncertainty. Mining could create jobs, strengthen infrastructure, and reduce economic dependence on Denmark. It could also disrupt fragile ecosystems, affect hunting grounds, and permanently alter landscapes untouched for centuries. The debate unfolding across Greenland is not simply about economics, it is about identity. Because Greenland is not a strategic asset on someone else's map, it is a homeland. Fewer than 60,000 people live scattered along a coastline, thousands of kilometers long. Each community has learned to adapt to conditions that outsiders struggle to imagine. Yet these settlements are not frozen in time. They are modern societies balancing tradition, technology, and rapid change. In the south, around Narsak and Igaliku, green valleys unfold beneath towering mountains. Sheep graze on hillsides, overlooking deep fjords. These fertile pockets once persuaded Vikings that Greenland could sustain permanent communities, and they remain among the island's most productive agricultural regions today. Far to the east, in Ittoqqortoormiit, life follows a different rhythm. Sea ice blocks ships from reaching the settlement for much of the year. Hunting remains essential. Dog sleds still outperform machines. Survival depends on understanding the moods of ice, weather, and wildlife. In the far north, Qaanaaq, one of the northernmost permanently inhabited communities on Earth, alternates between months of endless sunlight and months of darkness. Hunters travel across sea ice as generations before them did, reading snowdrifts and currents with remarkable precision. Across Greenland, fishermen still read currents like scripture. Artists carve stories into bone and antler. Schoolchildren learn Kalaallisut while navigating a world increasingly shaped by satellites, smartphones, and global politics. Greenlanders are not passive observers of change. They are active participants shaping their own future. And the decisions they make may influence far more than Greenland itself, because what happens here increasingly affects the entire world. Far to the northeast, beyond the settlements, beyond the airstrips and fishing harbors, lies a landscape so vast and empty that it seems to belong to another planet. This is Northeast Greenland National Park, the largest national park on Earth. Covering an area larger than most nations, it is a realm of glaciers, mountains, frozen deserts, and silence. Polar bears patrol, drifting sea ice. Musk oxen cross windswept plains unchanged for millennia. In many places, human footprints are so rare that a single set can remain visible for years. Standing here, it is easy to believe Greenland exists beyond the reach of history. But it does not. Change is arriving even here. Water released from these glaciers contributes to rising sea levels that will reshape cities and coastlines across the planet. Changes in the Arctic influence weather systems far beyond the polar region. New shipping lanes, resource opportunities, and geopolitical rivalries are already redrawing international relations. Greenland stands at the intersection of climate, culture, economics, and strategy. It is simultaneously a homeland, a scientific archive, a strategic frontier, and a warning. Perhaps its greatest significance is that it forces us to think on scales larger than ourselves, beyond election cycles, beyond quarterly profits, beyond national borders. So return for a final moment to the tactile. Press a gloved hand against a wall of ancient ice and feel its corrective cold. Watch a glacier fracture and listen as the sound rolls across dark water. Sit quietly in a harbor while an iceberg, luminous and impossibly old, drifts past like a floating cathedral. Greenland's name was once a promise. Today, it has become a ledger of futures, both human and planetary. The ice remembers what we forget. And here, on this vast white island at the top of the world, it is asking all of us what kind of future we intend to leave behind. If this documentary changed how you see Greenland, leave a thought below. What surprised you most? And if you want to discover more places the world forgot to show you, subscribe.